Welcome to Going for the Green. I'm Brad Thomas here with Denny Carter, and this week it's the BMW Championship. Yes, we are down to 50 in the FedEx Cup playoffs. Last week he had a fantastic finish where Hideki Matsuyama tried to do his absolute best to give away the tournament, but he came through strong with the final three holes and ended up winning the tournament. Denny, how's it going, my man?
I'm just continually impressed by Hideki becoming an elite player. Like, he was always very good, but this season, this past couple months, he's the best ball striker in the world in many regards. And hopefully he can keep it up. If he can just putt a little bit, I think he can compete with Scotty and Xander.
Yeah. It's funny, he gained like career high numbers on the putting surface at that tournament, but I feel like that's kind of what we've seen at that
Yeah.
event. But now we go to a course that we really haven't seen. I think what last time was 2006, 2008, and that's Castle Pines in Castle Rock, Colorado. And I'm just going to go ahead with my first guy. He is from Colorado, but I didn't even care about that really, like not that much. I just cared about how his form was. I bet him last week at 70-1. I'm gonna bet him again at 30-1 with only a 50 golfer field. So of course the price is gonna be shorter, and that's Wyndham Clark. I talked about this last week where Wyndham Clark quietly has been putting together a pretty good resume since his missed cut at Memorial. He finished T9 at Travelers, T10 at the Scottish Open. Yes, missed the cut at the Open, but then followed it up at T14 after a really, really bad first round at Le National for the Olympics. And then last week, his T7 was pretty much a fantastic finish again. I feel like Wyndham Clark has been kind of starting off the blocks pretty slowly, right? Round one, he lost strokes off the tee. He lost strokes putting. Then round two, he lost strokes on approach. But then he finished that in rounds 3 and 4, and he was pretty much a gainer all over the place. Him being from Colorado, I think helps a lot, right? When we look at the elevation and yardage changes, I think it'll be a little bit easier for him to assimilate faster than the other golfers, because we see it's like an 8,100-yard golf course, but it's really only going to play like 70 because you have to do the elevation changes and the ball travels differently. So at 30-1, Wyndham Clark was a pretty good option for me.
It's home cooking. That's what
Yeah.
Wyndham Clark will have going for him. And, the thin air, we're going to see drives going just ridiculous yardage, 400 sometimes off these tees. So that'll be cool. My high price pick for this week, Brad, is one that I don't take any pleasure in talking about after last week's disaster. It's Rory McIlroy. You may have heard of him. Third highest price guy on DraftKings this week. Now, look, it was gross last week. Okay, Rory finished tied for 68th in a field of 70. Disastrous on the greens. He lost strokes. He lost strokes on the greens, off the tee, on approach. He gained a little bit around the green, so he has that going for him. But here's why you're playing him this week. Okay, so stick with me here. Don't try not to dry heave yet. You're playing him because he's going to be contrarian for the first time in a very long time, as long as I can remember. People are not going to want to play Rory after what they saw last week, right? So, yes, you're going to have to pay up still, but you're going to get him at a lowered roster rate, right? And we don't often get that luxury with, the highest priced guys, with elite golfers like Rory. So we can take advantage of that. Now, this is for large field DraftKings tournaments. Okay, I want to be clear about that. If you're playing cash games, you're playing 50-50s, whatever, there's no earthly reason to stuff Rory McIlroy into your lineup. Okay, you go with Xander, you go with Scotty, and you're done with it as far as the high price guys go. But so this is more of a strategy thing than a Rory comes into this being good thing. I will say, even after last week's debacle, Rory is still top 10 in this field in par 5 scoring and in total driving. Of course, total driving is a metric that blends driving distance with driving accuracy. It's something I weighed pretty heavily here. So get gross with your lineup and consider Rory McIlroy.
It's funny, Rory McIlroy lost strokes off the tee for the first time since the Players' Championship. And the time before that was back in 2013. Seems like forever ago since we're already in 2024. This guy just doesn't lose strokes on approach, but he was pretty poor, right? Like I bet on him and I was pretty upset. I got him at a really good price at 20-1. I thought I would get a little bit, but my thing that concerns me about Rory McIlroy has been his putter. He's lost strokes in 5 straight events putting. If he turns that around, though, at a course like this, a course that you can overpower, a good ball striker course, he's a great option. And when you think about him from a betting perspective, he's 12-1. If you're like me and likes to have a little action with a parlay, you parlay a 12-1 with like your favorite -110 money line. You're sitting around somewhere like +20, +2,000, which is not terrible for a guy who's a proven winner and who could get it going in an instant.
He didn't forget how to play golf, folks.
Yeah.
And by the way, on the putting, Rory, if you're listening, it may be time to speak broomstick, buddy.
Yes, yeah, he needs to do something. He might need to speak to his ball in the hole, but I'm going with Aaron Ryan, and I'm not going to go as far as saying I'm going to take him to win the tournament. While his price is pretty good, if I look over here, I think it's something like I don't know, 50-1, 30-1, 45-1. Where we'll land on it, but I'm gonna go with him to finish top 20 in a 50-man field. Aaron Ryan, Mr. Consistent, top 20. Aaron Ryan lost almost 5 strokes on the putting surface last week. 5 strokes. That's a lot. But guess what? He still finished inside the top 16. I didn't want to be anywhere near him after cashing him at Wyndham to win. But it's just because like generally the emotion after you win a tournament, the next week your emotions are all over the place. Hence why his driver and his putter weren't great. But we're at another ball strikers course, and over the last 36 rounds, he's been one of the best ball strikers here. He's certainly top 10 guy. I would play him top 10, but I'm going to be kind of cautious just because if that putter really starts to be an issue, I don't want to be scraping the bottom of the barrel praying that I get the dead heat money. So I'm just going to take top 20.
Brad, as I always do, I made a model for this tournament, and Aaron Rye came in third behind only Scotty Scheffler and Xander Schauffele. So you're on the right track, I think.
Hey, I like it. Well, tell me what you like about Mr. Akshay Bhatia. Tournament has been really going his way over the last few, but at this price, I can kind of get down with it.
Yeah, so I looked at 4 main factors here: strokes gained approach from 200 plus yards. I should say proximity on those long approaches, par 5 scoring, and then the aforementioned total driving. And Bhatia was first in total driving. He was top 20 in both strokes gained on approach and par 5 scoring. He's a really good driver. I didn't really realize that until I really looked into the numbers, before we recorded here. Bhatia has gained strokes off the tee in 9 of his past 10 events. He has a 70% fairway rate, which is like borderline elite. So I think that he should be in position to score here. That's all we can ask for. Hopefully, his putter comes alive, or at least he's like a 0 putter, like a mid-range putter here on this course. I do think this course fits him pretty well, though.
Yeah, I'm always down for Akshay. I did find a little bit of trouble personally, kind of calculating the proximity buckets and how they would change for guys who are great wedge players and great off the tee. But if you want to talk about another good ball striker, that's Akshay Bhatia. I'm going to go with my last pick, and this guy's been kind of all over the place. But with it being week 0 in college football starting this week and me loving the Crimson Tide, I figured there was no better time than to bet on an Alabama golfer than this week. Nick Dunlap, his price is absolutely enormous. 70-1. Listen, he scraped by last week, right? Needed to make par on 18 to solidify his place into the next tournament. But that's not because he hasn't had a great season. That's because when he won, when he won for the first time this season, you heard me say first time, not only time, he didn't get those FedEx Cup points because he was an amateur. He won again, and he got those points when he won at the Barracuda Championship. Nick Dunlap has been pretty phenomenal, even in his rounds or in tournaments where he hasn't been the best, right? Like at Wyndham Championship where he missed the cut, he still was a big gainer on approach. His driver kind of let him down. But this is a course that needs good, strong drivers, and that's exactly what Nick Dunlap is. He drives and tears the cover off the ball. His T5 finish last week could have been higher, especially after making a pretty much a tap in on the first hole. I think he kind of faltered a little bit, missing putt, and it got in his head. He admittedly said he was a little nervous, which makes sense. But I feel like if he just continues to play really good golf, hits the cover off the ball, gains strokes ball striking, which he gained 6 in his last event, he's going to be live at 70-1. We just need someone who's going to kind of be there for us and give us any kind of hedge possibilities.
He was top 5 in strokes gained on approach last week, and he was top 10 in putting. His putting has been quietly very good over the past month or so. So I do like Dunlap here.
Yeah. So you know what's funny? I'm having like severe PTSD whenever I see the name of the golfer you were about to take. Severe PTSD. And I'm going to kind of go off course here and say this. When I was betting Nick Dunlap, I posted an update of the not Dunlap, excuse me, Grayserman, the golfers who I had bet on in their standings. Someone on Twitter said there's no way he blows this, and immediately he puts his ball, slices, whatever it was, out of bounds, cards an 8 on that hole, and ends up losing the tournament. So go ahead and tell me about why you like the guy who is giving me serious problems.
I want to apologize, first of all, Brad. I didn't know that this would do this to you. I would have chosen someone else. But look at it, 6,300 on DraftKings. Max Grayserman, I think, is a really good value play, a really good way to save some salary on DraftKings and be able to, grab a few of the top 10 highest priced guys, including, like I said, maybe Rory McIlroy. But, despite that complete debacle a couple weeks ago, Grayserman tied for 33rd last week at St. Jude on the strength of a final round 63. He was one of the hottest guys on that Sunday. He's second best in this field in par 5 scoring. He's number 1 in this field in proximity to the pin of over 200 yards out. It doesn't hurt that only Sam Burns has been better on the greens than Grayserman over the past month among players in this field. So I think everything is pointing toward Grayserman being a pretty safe play. I don't think that he's going to be in contention here for real, but at 6,300, you don't really need that. He's the guy I'm looking toward, to save some salary. And also, I don't really see folks gravitating to him in a big way as far as roster construction goes.
Yeah, Grayserman's the kind of golfer who kind of goes under the radar in this first year of his. And it was hard, right? Like bouncing back from an epic collapse.
Yeah.
How do you perform? Yes, his first 3 rounds weren't great, but finally when he realized that, listen, I'm just here playing golf, he went out and fired off a 63. Another no-cut event here should do him pretty well. So listen, Denny, you gave me PTSD. But we had a great time talking about golf. Anybody on here, make sure you check out NBCSports.com for all your help with your wagers. I'm Brad Thomas here with Denny Carter. Thanks for checking it out.